All right. Well, hi everybody. Nice to see
Hi.
you. I think we should introduce all of us should introduce ourselves.
Here she goes. Here goes the tea.
You
Hi, I'm
first.
Caitlin. So this is CadyJax Knits, and the 7 o'clock witching hour. I'm Caitlin, and
Hi, Caitlin. I'm
I
Jackie. Oh, somebody's in the waiting room, Kristen M. Do you guys see that? I can't help it. Why does it give me the power to admit people and stuff?
because you're
You're a
so
co-host.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I will watch that. Okay.
yeah.
So, um, Annie, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Annie. I'm one of the board members for the Fiber Fair.
Hi, Annie. Okay, and there's Kathy.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm also one of the board members for the NCFF
Nice.
and member of the Brookings Fiberworks Guild.
nice. Hi.
Carrie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm not a board member.
Great. Well, we're glad to see you. Okay,
And
Catherine's here. What were you going to say, Carrie? I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, just a knitter.
Yay. Amy, do you want to say hi to everybody? Amy Smith.
Hi,
Hi. It's nice that
I'm
you guys.
also a board member.
We got the high powered group here tonight. All the board members. I'm intimidated. Wanda, you don't have your camera on, but do you want to just unmute and say hi, everybody? There she is. Hi, Wanda. And then we've got Carrie coming back in. Well, we were asked, I can't help it. I'm an elementary school teacher and I don't know about Zoom, but we think it's important just to, at least hear from you and see your faces and say hi. So Caitlin and I were asked, I guess you need to mute yourself unless you're Caitlin or me at this point, because otherwise we'll echo. Yep. I haven't been on Zoom in so long. It's all coming back to me. I'm not going to have any nightmares tonight.
Let's hope. At least not from this.
Yeah. So hopefully you all have some knitting and something to drink. Caitlin, what were you drinking earlier? I know it wasn't Diet Coke.
Well, I had a cocktail or three. No, just kidding.
What did James make you tonight?
Yeah, James. So my husband is an amazing bartender, and he made our summer drink has been the Pimm's Cup, which is a British drink, which is Pimm's and ginger beer. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway,
so we were asked to talk about community and sort of the story of our podcast tonight. And then after we're done talking at you, we'll leave some time for if you have any questions.
yeah, sounds good. So hopefully you have a sense of who we are. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, who are these two crazy, kids? Jackie and I have been friends for 25 plus years, and we started knitting together before we had kids. We took knitting class together and knit our babies, lots of things. And then Jackie sort of progressed and did additional knitting things. And then we sort of put that by the wayside as life got busy. And I probably about 3.5 years ago, maybe a little bit before that, started to get this itch to do something creative again. Like I used to, Jackie's mom taught me how to quilt, and I just had put all that by the wayside, but I knew there was something in me that just needed to get out, and I sort of discovered Instagram. I mean, I was definitely behind the 8 ball on that, and I'm sure there might be people in this group who are like, I don't even want to approach Instagram, but Instagram for me was something where it just all of a sudden, just looking at knitting, it was just so amazing. It had evolved so much from those going to the yarn store and getting a paper pattern and picking out that yarn. So And then it morphed into me watching YouTube channels about knitting. Like, go figure, there was knitting out there. And Jackie and I talked about it, and I was like, we should do a podcast, which of course, calling it a podcast is also, it's not it's a video blog, it's YouTube, whatever. And we just talked about doing our own, not with any intention of actually more than our moms watching it. Like, who's gonna watch this, right? And then it just magically, organically kept building, and it turned into this thing that has just brought us so much joy because we get to meet people who love to knit and understand this crazy thing that we do with fiber. So that was sort of how it started. Jackie, you're muted.
Carrie asked me to talk about Friday nights, which I think are an interesting. The elementary school teacher and Friday nights are really kind of what helped wrap my brain about the kind of community we wanted to make online. So Friday nights, I live with my mother, my sister, my sons. One of them's moved out now, and Lily. But before we even did the podcast, every Friday night, my mother and sister and I would host a dinner, and we would get flowers, make dessert, plan a meal, and we would invite over 100 people. We would invite anybody who was a woman that we liked, like the librarian, the stranger at yoga class, anybody you felt any sort of a connection to. And you never know who was going to show up. And, it might be a friend of my sister's that I've never met before. It might be somebody from school that I don't really enjoy, but I invited, because she needed it or something like that. And we learned how to host in that way, that sort of instead of hosting like because you've collected just the right people who you want and you're controlling it, and instead you are hosting because you're trying to serve. So the people would come, and we never knew the mix except one of them knew one of us, and it was always, we did this for like 3 years, super magical, because these women were strangers, but they'd sit around and they'd be fed and taken care of, and they'd just relax. And none of us had to be like, normally dinner parties could often be about like how witty you were or what you made that was the latest and best recipe or what you were wearing. And all of that stuff is great, but it's not it's not everything. And sometimes people just needed to feel welcome. So we had that practice over and over again of greeting somebody you don't know and bringing them into your home and treating them like they're important or whatever. And then obviously being an elementary school teacher, I don't get to pick and choose who my students are. I don't get to decide, oh, they have the same beliefs I have, so I'm going to like them. Or they, you make kind of, to me, it's a really, if there's a sacred thing about teaching, it's that you love all of your students, and so no matter what, and you figure out what you're going to love about them. So coming into the knitting podcast with those two experiences, it was very interesting for Caitlin and I, because I don't know how people do it without having a best friend that they're sitting next to, because I could focus on her instead of the running commentary in my head, which is craptastic, judgmental, whatever, which many of us have. And I could just think, oh, there's Caitlin, and forget that. But it was really interesting because I think as Caitlin introduced all these podcasts, it was so exciting to see not Hollywood women, not, I don't know, all these sort of like artificial versions of women, but real women, knitters. It was mostly women, to be honest. I think I watched one guy, well, a couple. But anyways, it was I think the grocery girls had a big influence on that, the way they would talk about whatever they wanted to. And they gave this sort of permission for that. And so we would upload a podcast. And even though there were just like 40 people watching it, it was still horrifying for me. I'm a little more neurotic than Caitlin, probably. Would you agree? Yeah. All right. A lot more neurotic. So I had to
Just
like,
as easygoing as I look and sound.
she's easy. That's
Yeah. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome. So I considered it a practice of letting go, like making the podcast, uploading it, and it was painful for like a day or two after. I would just be so judgmental because of course we made them and we didn't know how to make them. So I would say the things that I would say to my students. I would say, just do it. And it doesn't have to be perfect and blah, blah, blah. But that was faking it because really I'm much more critical. But it was the only way to do it.
Mhm.
And Caitlin, do you want to speak to the whole improvisational make it up as we go along aspect of our podcasting?
Sure. I mean, I think that was the best part for me, is that we don't do show notes. We just sort of, we just sort of wing it. And I think that's the piece that just feels really organic and good, is that it's just the two of us. And that has been the piece that seems to be the strongest response for people, that was really moving it's still moving, but at the beginning it was that people kept responding, would leave comments on the YouTube comment section, just that they were responding to our friendship, and that, there is something really strange about recording something on we started on our phones and, uploading it, and that it's video, and somehow that brings people, we're brought into your living room or brought into the palm of your hand, and we're right there. And I think people responded to the authenticity of it and feel like, oh, I have you on my big TV and you're in my living room. So it is sort of personal in that sense. And so you guys get a very different perspective than what we do. But it's that piece for us that I think is that it is just me and Jackie doing our thing. And yep, we argue, and yes, we give each other a lot of crap, and and there's eye rolling and all that. But at the base of it is a deep friendship and a deep knowing of each other. And I think people respond to that this is us. I mean, if you meet us in person, you'll be like, yeah, that's them. I mean, that's who we are. And so I think that's the authentic piece that resonates with people. And that's one of those things we didn't expect. We didn't expect to feel your response or feel how our podcast, moves you in a certain way. Maybe it even moves you to turn it off. I don't know. I know there have been people.
Well, and that was a huge initial thing too, is being concerned if we would offend somebody.
Sure.
And being concerned if we swore, or if we said this, or if we did that. And again, I think that's a very feminist practice of letting go of pleasing everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say this free meeting will end in 10 minutes.
Ooh, jeez.
Just by the way. So
we have a plan to try and fix this.
Okay.
So keep going, and if the meeting ends, come back in. We'll restart it right away.
Okay. So, and you build that bravery, so to speak, by seeing other people do it, as I mentioned, like the grocery girls, the way they did it, or by practicing it yourself and like making it through a comment that isn't so friendly and just going, oh, well, so.
Because yep, we get them. People like to share their thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they absolutely do. And again, I feel like it's parallel to teaching for me, because you have to have like, what's what are your values and what's at the core of what you do? And at the core of what we do, I hope, is both Caitlin and I have been through terribly hard things. It's not like it's what the center of our podcast is, but we've learned a lot from that. And so I think we are on the others. I mean, it's not like life is going to just be easy for the rest of our lives, but those skills of being authentic and practicing that, I think that's worth modeling. And I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to model that through knitting. So my secret agenda is to make space for everybody to be themselves more. And the part that, of course, Carrie didn't ask me to bring out what is the downer. But the downer is if you project onto the podcast that somehow we're, an idealized version of a person isn't what I'm interested in projecting at all, and I just definitely want it to be inclusive. That's what I'm hoping it'll be. And I hope that's what it does. So then the next part is like, what kind of community did we create? And we created a real in-person knitting community for sure. We said we put it on, I don't know, Facebook or something, and we met in person. But I do think it's interesting because it's really good when you're knitting in person because you can talk, you can have little side conversations and stuff like that. But when you're on Zoom, that community did not last on Zoom because only one person kind of can speak at a time on Zoom. And so there's no relief from that person if you're not interested in what they're talking about, like me right now. Mm-hmm.
I know, I have to say, when we've done our little knitting meetups on Zoom, it's takes everything in my being to be on Zoom because I am all of the interaction. And I just if I talk, then I'm interrupting everybody. So I'm doing my best to be well behaved and nod and wave and listen. But it has really brought us so many gifts. I mean, I think that's the takeaway for me at least, and I think for Jackie too, is that we just had no expectations. And what a beautiful thing to have no expectations and then just completely be blown away by the response. And when I say response, I mean we've connected with people all over the world. We've connected with knitters in states we've never visited, I mean, it's just been really amazing in that sense of how this thing, that we do called knitting, just can really bring us together. And it's brought us so many gifts of friendship that we would never have expected. I mean, I think we've talked on our podcast about running into Debbie Korb at Rhinebeck, and she invited us to stay with her in New York, and we said yes to that. And she's one of our dearest friends. And through that relationship, we've been able to share her with you, and I think that's the piece of it. And having your mom and Lily on the podcast, it wasn't something we planned for, but I think we have found that it's so great how different aspects of our podcast resonate with different people, and that's something that's really special. And again, we didn't plan for it just happened. And how great for us, when we wear a fabulous earring by our friend Melissa Jenkins, who we just happened to meet at selling her wares, became a good friend and in our knitting group. And I think that's the other part of it, we love celebrating and lifting up other makers, especially women makers. And all of those things that have happened also happened without a plan. It's we put on a lipstick and somebody's like, what lipstick are you wearing? It's oh, we need to share that. Oh, what earrings are you wearing? We share that. And that has been something that's just felt really good because we're not looking for something in return. And it really feels good to lift others up through this shared community. So that's been a really nice, unexpected part of it too.
And the other piece, I suppose, is all of us knitters in this absolutely unpredictable time, we're able to have some of our communities sustained through the podcast, through Marco Polo, through Instagram. Some of these strands of how we know ourselves as knitters are continued and weren't interrupted at all. And that was really a benefit and I think we heard a lot of feedback from people that when they felt so isolated, yeah, we're down to 3 minutes. So we'll all get kicked out and then we'll all get on the link again in 3 minutes, something like that. So that was a really nice benefit too. And I think that, and then you've all heard about the I mean, maybe you haven't, I don't mean to sound like you've all heard about it, but we started a knit along through the pandemic, which was this wrap right here. And we saw it when we went to VKL at Pearl Soho. And then we were like, we have to make this wrap. And I didn't make it right away. And then Debbie made it. And then I fell in love with it. And we all fell. And then it became, the pandemic was so hard and so stressful. And it was just this nice, soothing knit. And so it's another layer of community that I feel really, we don't monetarily benefit, but we're very happy if it's given people a sense of connection or a sense of joy or a sense of, I'm not alone and I know other people are struggling. I mean, that's basically what we've heard from so many people who are working on this, is that they didn't have to think about something. I know that's how I felt. I didn't have the capacity to do anything harder. And so I knit one after another of these and told myself it's okay. So we have less than a minute. So we'll just let it fade away. And we'll
I just wanted to say one thing along the lines. So for those of you that maybe don't follow, we do have a Ravelry thread for the half wrap Cal. And I looked through it last night and if you just need something to lift you up, first of all, the visuals of what people have posted are beautiful, but there's some amazing stories in there of people knitting things and gifting it to others. Or, I mean, if you just need some inspiration or something that'll just make you feel good, reading those is really lovely.
If you look in the chat, the link is right up here so we can get in it, or it hasn't booted us out yet though.
59 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we still have less than a minute, but yes, if you copy that link, you should be able to get right back in it. We will be talking to Zoom tomorrow and yelling at them.
Yeah.
I don't yell at people very often, but I think I will be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very odd.
But it's also just so par for the course. Like we've all had how to copy the link and have the meeting interrupted, and we all just go with it because this is life in a pandemic.
Can't do anything else.
Exactly. So I'm just waiting for it to end us.
Yeah.
That was so subtly put, Jackie.
No.
I feel like we should have a countdown.
I know. I don't have a countdown though. Do you guys?
After it hits less than 1 minute, it doesn't.
2. Then there were 2.
All right. Let's give everybody a second. We could have taken a bathroom break.
Or not. Look, everybody did the right thing. How many people we lose? Not many. Oh, we're getting more people back.
Well done, everybody.
Yeah. Jackie's going to give everybody a gold star.
Pat yourselves on the back. I don't give gold stars, Caitlin.
I know you don't, but I like to think.
Okay. So the other thing about community, I guess, that I would say that I've learned from doing this is the joy of going to knitting events and mingling with knitters. It's so intimate, the way we all have this passport into each other's personal space because we knit. So you can walk up to a total stranger and talk to them about their knit. And that's such a joy. And do you want to say anything about that, Caitlin?
Well, I'm all about like, I'm a very tactile person, so I feel like it allows me to touch people. Like, can I touch your knit? Can I feel the mohair? So maybe it just totally speaks to my need to reach out. Hence why the Zoom doesn't quite like jack in touching you, but you don't know it. Anyway, so yeah, no, I do. It's amazing. If you haven't been to a real in-person fiber event, I put it on your bucket list, whether it's a tiny one, like, whether it's a big one. We are fortunate enough to be able to go to Rhinebeck next month, and it'll be our second time. And I think we were just so blown away by that experience that, of course, we're chomping at the bit. But really, like, it wasn't about even looking at yarn. It was just all the people we connected with. I mean, we just stood outside the entire time, and those connections have just been so special. And also, your Ravelry queue just, exponentially grows, because you're like, I want to knit what she's wearing and what they're wearing. And so that, and it's just great to see it on different body types and all of that. Just to see it in person is really great, because we all know our LYSs never have enough samples, right? In our size, or, whatever it is. So highly recommend it.
Yeah, and speaking of being inclusive, it's funny because Sally, my mom, is always, her photos are our most popular photos on Instagram, which we love.
Darn Sally, she gets more likes than we do.
Yes.
I mean, it's not even her podcast.
Which I think is so sweet. And then my version, I like representing being a divorced single woman. There, you don't see as many of those on the podcast, and we're glad to have the multiple generations too. Yeah. I mean,
I like being the youngest one on the podcast.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I was going to say something about Caitlin is more outgoing than I am, and so it's been wonderful to watch her celebrate people. It's very easy. And so in terms of like creating community around her, I love going to an in-person event, because she will open her mouth and speak to a total stranger and bridge that gap. And
you do the same thing. I mean, and you'll do it with your phone. She's like, I'm gonna photograph you, and here's how you're gonna stand. And so Watch out, everybody. Like, you're just, so that's the thing. You say you're not as social, but you are like out there, like crazy town. And then you're like, introvert, I need to be alone.
Right. But like before we had the knitting podcast, when we were coworkers and we would go to like a work party, I would never go to the work party. I would go to one. I would suffer in a corner and couldn't wait for the work party to be over, and then go, Caitlin, did I offend this person? Did I say that? Can you believe I did that? And just all of that, you know what I mean? That's where I come from.
I got you.
And Caitlin was always like, what? Like, you were fine, so I feel like it's pushed me out of my worst tendencies, I would say. And that's been good.
Yeah. Now if we could just push them a little bit back in. We've learned a lot.
And then the final thing I'm thinking about community, really for us at this point, is to know that we are finite, though, and to know, and I think all women need to recognize this at some point, that they have to say no, that they can't keep up. I can't have all that noise going on. Okay. That they can't have a super long correspondence with everyone, and it's going to be okay. It's okay not to be superwoman and everyone's best friend. And I think
because she's my best friend.
Yeah. But I mean, because I think I think you guys know this from the classroom teacher. You have like a positional opportunity when you're a classroom teacher to have a big impact on a student's life, and to like whatever you say is amplified. So you have to be very careful of what you say. And so, you know, my non-podcast self can be tired and can be, you know, I'm just as human as everybody else. But when we go into a yarn shop, if we ignore somebody, it's a bigger bummer than if you didn't have a podcast. So we have to remember that we're representing, I guess we have this opportunity because of the community we created to make somebody feel good, and to keep that in mind. And it was just so interesting because when I was in California this summer and I went to a Verb for Keeping Warm with Trish, she thought I could just go as like, I don't know, like as a person and just go and pay attention to her. But I was going and I knew I had like viewers and that there were people that had things that they were going to want to see. And so there's like 50,000 things in my head. And I'm like, I can't actually pay attention to you right now because I have to deliver stuff to the community that we've created. And so
Well,
I don't think people know that. And I think I admire that so much. Like I just saw these videos that Christy Glass put up today and yesterday, and she did such a, I didn't even know she was doing all of that filming, and the way she edits and the way she puts things together.
I know.
You know, it was very.
Well, I will say that that is how you operate in the world. I pretty much will go into the yarn shop and look for the yarn. And Jackie's like, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. I'm like, you know, so we have I mean, I will say I'm more towards the center of what you're saying, but you very much are always forward thinking about the podcast and how to share things with people and feel sort of this, I don't know, obligation is the right word, but responsibility to sort of, you know, do the right things. And that is a hard thing, because sometimes, you know, for us, like with our friendship, like, you know, we used to just go to yarn shops, you know, we didn't think about what might be related to that, you know. So it's definitely a balance, but we always are really thinking about viewers and how to share it with people, because we want it to be accessible to people, and we don't want to keep it to ourselves. Like, it's all about, you know, sharing all the good stuff.
Yeah, and I guess that's the final piece, is it's just, again, that value of being authentic and wanting to share what we genuinely like, and we never wanted to feel like it's an infomercial or that we're just trying, you know. And so those are the parts of building community where you have to be intentional about it. And so
I'm sure you just told me that you love me, but I totally had a bad connection. I have no idea what you said, but I agree with everything you said.
I did, you guys. That's what I was saying. It was, I love Caitlin so much. If only I could get James out of the way.
I know. You heard that.
So that was 35 minutes of our monologue about making community, which, you know, hopefully.
Now, how many of you are sleeping? Wake up.
I've never even watched the podcast, but if you have, like, you know, for instance, I remember when we first started podcasting, and I would maybe I send a link of the episode very sheepishly to someone we were featuring, like, maybe you'll watch this or whatever, and stuff like that. And now people do the same to us, and and we try to watch, and we try to amplify, and we try to follow, and we try to do all these things. And I would just say that, like, you know, we are limited, but we do try to do all of that as much as we can.
We do.
And we hope, I hope some of it comes across, but we never want, but I don't think we'll ever do it for, I mean, we don't care how many followers we have, or that's not at all, that has nothing to do with why we do anything.
Yeah. we're like, who are these people watching us?
The only time that has any play is with our teenage children. You know,
I have to say, I just love that because my daughter Isabella is just like, I cannot believe. It's like, yeah.
so thank you, all of you, because
Yes.
somehow it gives us some credibility with our children that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes.
Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Carrie, did we cover what you wanted us to cover?
You did an awesome job, but there's one more thing I want you to do.
Oh,
You're wearing your half and half, right, Jackie?
Yes.
and I have mine
So
there.
can you show it to everybody? Because I don't know if everybody has been following along with that. And is yours behind you too,
Yeah,
Caitlin?
yeah, I'll grab it.
Okay.
So it's a giant square, and one, of two different colors of your choosing. And I mostly fold it like this, but you could also fold it this way. And it's just a spectacular blanket of a knit. Look at that. I mean, you just go pong and it just stays there and you feel fabulous. And you just get to find your favorite colors. And so it's very intimate because you knit it for a long time. So it becomes a season of your life, one of these colors, and then the next season is the next color. And
She will be knitting it. She's gonna have a stack, like, what is it? Princess and the Pea. You're gonna be on the stack.
This is my fourth one. There's 6 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So, and I feel kind of bad because I feel like I'm supposed to knit things for the podcast, but I'm also human and I need to just knit what I want to knit.
Again, that's Jackie talking because I'm like, I don't feel obligated, but we did knit this out of linen quill because that's what the pattern's free from Purl Soho. But we should give a shout out to Purl Soho because I think they probably had no idea what was going to hit them, but I'm pretty sure they keep selling out of linen quill, and I'm actually on the waiting list too. So just so you know, we don't get special treatment with colors, but they just, I think, also appreciated how much interest there's been about this pattern. And we've seen other podcasters and other LYSs who have been promoting it. And Purl Soho came to us and said, we want to do a giveaway. And what's really beautiful about the giveaway is it doesn't have to be in their yarn. So you can knit it out of your stash. You can knit it out of something you've just been waiting to knit from your LYS. And you just have to post an FO finished object photo in our Ravelry thread by October, Rhinebeck 15th. Is that 13?
Can I share some gossip?
Yes, you can.
Everybody loves gossip.
Oh my God. You are not, wait.
It's okay. So this is a perfect example of the kind of like work you do to create community. Is bless someone, they decided to start a second Cal. Like it had something to do with, I've only knit half of the shawl because I can't possibly get it done by Rhinebeck.
Oh dear, just a second.
The puppy has taken my knitting. It's just dragged it.
Go, Poppy, go. Go, Poppy, go.
Her little ball fell on the floor. They're all ripped out. Okay, hold on.
I'm coming.
I would finish the story, but I have no idea where she's going with it. Oh, there she's back. Because she's always like, this is what I'm gonna say this. This is okay to say it. I'm like, the thought bubble does not say the whole story, Jackie. Like,
just a second. Here comes Poppy.
Oh, here comes Poppy. Steal the show.
There she is. Anyways,
Sorry,
she's all right. Go away now.
Not really.
Okay, here comes the gossipy. I mean, I just mean the challenge. So she wanted to start a whole other Cal for people who only did half and said you could be proud of yourself or whatever. And I saw that and I was like, oh, how unfortunate, dividing up the community. Like, you don't have to have it finished. I'm going to be knitting these forever and ever. But like how to approach her in a way that she felt seen and she felt acknowledged and she felt.
And then you could crush your spirit in the same time.
And I could also say, maybe that isn't such a good idea. That's not the spirit of the Cal. And so you really sit and think and you go, I'm so excited that you're doing it and looking, you know, whatever. And you work really hard. And I felt good because I think she came around and I don't see it anymore. But even if it did, and even if there is one, you know, you have to just let things go. But why did I say it was gossip? It was just it was just a challenge. These things don't go without challenges, and you want people to feel included. And I always worry if they're not feeling included. And so when that came up, I was like, oh my God, because of course it is 6 skeins of fingering weight yarn. Like, and I know sometimes people go, Jackie, you knit so fast. And I know I knit a smaller sweater than my mother does. So of course I'm going to knit it faster. It doesn't mean I'm a faster knitter. It means I have less to knit. That doesn't make me better or worse or whatever. So there's 1,000 things to think of, and we drop the ball sometimes, but we try to think of them too. There, that was it.
Good job, Jackie. That
Thanks.
was good. That was so good. Do we get to hear from the knitters in the group? Carrie?
Do you get to hear from the knitters?
You know, like, does anybody
Sure.
wanna,
What do you want to hear from us?
I don't know. I mean, does anybody have any questions or thoughts or comments or?
Hey, want to start a podcast now?
Mhm.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Yes, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
I didn't have a lot of time to look ahead or go back and look over your podcast and stuff. Where are you located?
Good question. So we have a YouTube channel, so it's a video.
Got it. I meant more physically located.
Oh, sorry, physically. So we were in Madison, Wisconsin together until January of 2020. And then I moved to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Is it me or did she just cut out?
She
I
cut
just
out.
cut out. I'm
in Madison. She's in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. She's in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Carrie had 2 questions.
Yeah. What's number?
Sorry,
2?
my internet got dorked up. I heard Wisconsin for a little bit and then I didn't hear the rest.
So I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Jackie lives in Madison. So we both lived in Madison until January 2020, and then my husband's job was transferred to Knoxville.
Okay. The part of the reason for the question is you mentioned ginger beer, and I haven't been able to find it out here since moving from Syracuse, New York. So I wondered where you were located that you could find ginger beer.
In Costco, Carrie.
Oh, I don't have a Costco subscription. We'll be looking at it.
We're a local food co-op.
Heidi has it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did at that point, we started a Patreon, which was hard for me and Caitlin to do, you know, because, and that basically asks the viewers to decide to give a financial support to the podcast, but then we could fly to see each other and keep podcasting in person because we abhor Zooming together.
But then, of course, the pandemic hit and we could fly nowhere. So, yeah. But we're really appreciative of our patrons. I mean, it has just been humbling and life altering at the same time. It's just been a beautiful thing for that we're able to see each other.
Mm-hmm. But we always think we could do it better. You know, we could do Patreon better and more. But again, it's that whole like improvised, spontaneous, do what we need to as we go.
Yeah, and I think that's the other piece too. Is you know, when we started this, like we want it to feel good. We don't want
Can you guys hear Caitlin? Caitlin,
No.
we can't hear you.
Sorry, I got nothing to say. My internet.
You're back now.
I'm
Okay.
back. Okay. I don't, yeah. I mean, basically we just try really hard to make it as fun as possible and keep the hope alive.
What's an unexpectedly positive thing that's come out of trying to keep this community together through the pandemic? Can you think of something like that?
I can answer that. I mean, a small version of that would be this community, the big community I'll think about, but I'm just going to say a small one was the Marco Polo app, because it was so interesting because my in-person friends, as Caitlin moved away, became less a part of my life than my on my phone Marco Polo friends, which is, you know, this app that you just, all your friends show up and you record video messages. So having friendships around the world that are literally sustaining me, like I can, and I'll just say her name, for instance, beyond like Caitlin, I can send a tearful Marco Polo to Amy Pelko about whatever, you know, and we all need that. And she'll respond, you know, she'll be asleep when I'm sending it because she lives in Scotland, but the next day I'll get one back. And that's amazing. And how would I even know her if it weren't for this, you know, for knitting? So,
Yeah.
and I will say, and then I'll let Caitlin speak, but the one of the things that really, really matters to me is that, like, when this all started, we had a janitor at my school who's super religious, and he's immigrated from Eritrea, right? Eritrea, you know, and went through terrible hardships. And he's such a beautiful, he and his brother are such beautiful people. And he would say to me, you know, and he had just incredible faith. And I'm not religious. I would say I'm spiritual, but not religious. But he would always say to me, well, you know, Jackie, all I want for you is for you to at least listen for the voice of God. And I was like, well, I can do that. You know, like, I don't know what that is, but I can do that. And where I found that voice, what I consider that voice, is when I would get this impulse to be generous and actually follow through on it. Generous might mean sending somebody something that they didn't ask for, or writing a letter, or just taking any of that risk to connect. And that was how this community sort of built up, was in that sort of spiritual practice. And I feel very grateful for that. And the part of it that needs to be checked is when I carry it around like an obligation, or like, you know, and get away from that, because that's where it started to grow for me. Caitlin and I sent a bag to Caroline from Dundernit. I remember we sent her a gift because we just thought she was so funny. I don't know. And she's not even podcasting anymore, but she mentioned us on her podcast. And my life had been so hard for so many years. And I was sitting there watching, and she thanked us on a podcast, you know, this woman from England. And it was like, it was such like a rainbow, like right in my heart. I couldn't believe it. And I felt so rewarded. I felt such joy for that. And so I need to remember that we have that platform to do that ourselves for other people. And that's an unexpected joy that I didn't know.
Yeah. Good answer.
Thanks.
Like nothing. No, but I mean, it's brought us to this wonderful Zoom meeting, right? I mean, so it's just one of the, I think we mentioned before, Jackie used to taught on Zoom all last year, and neither one of us liked the platform whatsoever. And we had many people say, just do Zoom when we moved away, and it forced us to do it. And I think people really appreciate it, even if we still don't like it. But Yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic has just brought us so many gifts of time, and the ability to connect with people, virtually, which has been really, really nice. And everyone else is frozen, so. Hi, I'm back. I think James is playing solitaire in the other room. And he's taking all the Wi-Fi. No,
Rude.
I know, totally. I think he's not here, but I'm just gonna blame on James. Sorry.
And you guys have been traveling a little bit again, right? You've been
Yep.
weren't you in Ohio last weekend for some type of an event?
Yep. So
And also,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go finish your question.
And were you also Black Mountain? Is that where you were? Is that close to you, Caitlin?
Yep, it's about 2 hours for me. So it's right out, it's near Asheville, North Carolina. So it's a beautiful drive. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because everyone else is frozen. I'll just keep talking. So our goal is to travel to see one another.
Can you hear me? I'll say our.
Yeah.
Okay. So we went to Ohio. We both flew. Can you hear me?
I can hear, sort of.
We can't hear you, Caitlin. So
Great. I got nothing to contribute here. Jackie can just finish my sentences. It's fine. It's fine.
Ohio was the first time we both flew to a place to meet.
No, New York.
I guess that's true. And that was our idea. We can't do that as often as we thought because it totally exhausts me to teach all week and then fly somewhere on the weekend. Like, I still haven't unpacked from last weekend. So but I did do the laundry, but I haven't unpacked the sweaters yet,
It's okay, you're not gonna wear them. You got 30
But-
more came from.
You know how we all want to do all the things and go everywhere. You also have to have limits, so we're definitely going to go to Rhinebeck, but we don't have any travel plans other than that at this point.
So just so you know, Jackie's like, we're not gonna travel, and then like tomorrow she'll be like, let's go, blah blah blah. So I'm gonna like call you people up and say, remember when Jackie said, but yeah, no, it's been, the summer was much easier because Jackie was off and I was dabbling in work, and so it was easier. But yeah, so we've got great places to travel to, and we keep meeting people who keep inviting us to stay with them in various locations. So that's been pretty amazing. And I think that's one of the things we haven't really talked about, but we really embrace the word yes. Like, we meet people and get invited to places, and there's just something beautiful about this knitting community that we've never encountered, knock on wood, somebody that's like made us feel like, I'm not sure we would do that. So you invite us to stay in your house, people. We're coming. Just saying.
Okay. Next year you can come to the live event and you can stay at my house.
Perfect. That was really so subtle.
My goal is someday to get invited to a Friday night at Jackie's house.
Me too.
When they start doing those again.
For sure.
See, the problem is we're all knitting now, so nobody wants to be the one who cleans the house to get ready for Friday night.
Well, that's how you get invited. You come over and you say you'll do the dishes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can do that.
Yeah, you're capable.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for this. It's been really, really nice to talk to you guys kind of in person, face to face, I guess we should say, and for sharing about the community that you guys have built. Because I think I watched you guys since probably the beginning, and I know Kristen's on here and she's been really quiet, but I know that she has too, I think. Haven't you, Kristen?
Yeah, I've watched since the beginning.
Kristen?
I'm so
I
sorry,
don't know.
Chris.
Are we all for?
You never get those years back. They just never come.
But so again, thank you guys so much. This was wonderful. We really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to us via Instagram, and we're all about communicating. So
Yes.
anyway,
And well, I just want us to end with a little something here, because a little call and response.
oh boy.
Yes, I know, but like, here you are. So the last minute, just, you know, just you are enough. So I'm just gonna say it, and you don't have, you can hear me, and then you can say it in your head silently. But I am enough, and then you're saying it in your head silently. And I am creative. I am loved. I am enough. I'm connected. And the world, let the world be a peaceful place. There we go. You know.
That's so lovely. And of course,
There you
I'm going SNL and going, and gosh darn it, people like me.
And gosh darn it. And gosh darn it, people like me.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? No.
No. No. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.